What is heritage white pine weaving? Heritage white pine weaving is a critically endangered art form that was brought to the eastern Tennessee area to very specific communities of people that lived up in the mountains and in the lowlands and in the hills. I have examples here of non-traditional pine weaving basket. This pine weaving basket is non-traditional because of the size. This basket was made in about 1875 by my great-grandmother. A traditional white pine weaving basket has some components that make it a little different than what you might see in a normal, what you consider normal, more common coiled basket. The base does start out the same as a coiled basket, but in order for it to be a traditional heritage white pine basket, it has to have a step of at least 2 on the bottom. It has to have a neck here. It has to have what's called a flare. And then it's got a swale. So if I show you the side of the basket, you'll see what I mean a little bit clearer. Again, this is a very old basket. It's almost 200 years old. It was made with a little bit different type of material than what we use now. This is actually wool. My great-grandmother would save the wool from when they would weave their own clothing. She would save the wool and then she would make socks out of it or use it for darning. And when the socks or whatever she was using to darning wore out too much to be used for that, she would actually unweave the yarn and she would use it to make these baskets. So some of the components that you have to have for an actual traditional basket is you have to have 2 steps on the bottom. You have to have goes in at the neck. The neck is built out. It's called raising the neck when you do that. And then it's got the swale. Now this basket was originally decorated with clay beads. If you look at it, you can see where the clay beads were attached. The clay beads were not fired beads. They were just beads that were dug out of the dirt. So over the years, they've gone to dust. I'll give you an example of an actual traditional size basket. So this would be an actual traditional size basket. This is one that I made about, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. This is a named art piece. It is for sale on the website if anyone's interested. It's called Gettysburg. It's one of the series of the Civil War baskets. But you can see in this example, it has what I was talking about there. It has the step. It has the swell. It has a built-up neck. It has to be at least 2. And then it has the top. You can see this particular basket is decorated with garnet and hematite. I can give you an example. I'll show you an example of another one that's a little bit different, but it has the same components. Another thing that makes this a little different than a more common, I hate to say that because all baskets are beautiful in my opinion, but the more common that you consider for coiled baskets is these are actually, I have a golden retriever, sorry about that. These are actually steeped in melted beeswax. When they're completed, they're steeped in melted beeswax. After the steeping process, they're baked in an oven, and it drives the wax into the needles, and they become very, very, very tough and strong after that. That's why you have ones like this one that have lasted for an extremely long time. If you did re-wax them every 50 years or so, they probably would last indefinitely. One of the things that I've done that's a little bit different than the traditional weave is I actually reinforce the edges of the basket, because the only parts of these baskets that I have ever seen that wore out were these lips. So the edge here at the edge of the top there and the edge of the bottom are reinforced with linen, organic cotton wrapped sisal, and that helps it hold up even more to just the wear and tear of actually opening and closing a basket like that. I hope that I am being a little clear in what I'm trying to say here. I'll give you another example of another basket that is completed here, just in a little bit different color so you can see. The color of the baskets, sorry about my messy desk, my whole office tends to be a bit of a disaster. These baskets are, the ones that are not just this light color here, these are actually dyed. They're dyed using RIT dye. RIT dye was introduced to this country in the 1900s, and it's what my great-grandmother used, so that's what I use. This stone on this basket is fluorite. It's from Cave and Rock, Illinois. And this over here is fancy jasper on this basket. This fancy jasper is from an ethically sourced mine in Brazil, actually. So I hope that answered a little bit. Again, you can see what I'm talking about for to be a traditional heritage white pine weaving basket. It has to have this step here. It's got to have a swale. It's got to have a flare, and then it has to have a built-up neck. And again, they're steeped in beeswax, and then they're baked. I hope that answered some questions for people that had a question on it. And I hope to talk to you soon. Bye-bye.